Below is a fully rewritten original professional YouTube voiceover script, 1550 to 1650 words. It follows all your requirements: American voice, emotional pacing, cinematic beats, 3-act structure, changed names locations, strong, hook-sharp dialogue and a debate, sparking ending, no long breaks, no EM dashes or ellipses, only commas, hyphens, and natural flow. Title: The Homeless Girl Who Saved a Dying Man Not Knowing He Was Searching for Her. I was 17, the night everything in my life cracked open, the night the world finally decided to show me who I really was. And it happened under a bus shelter so old, it rattled every time the wind breathed. Funny how life works, right? You spend years thinking you're invisible. Then, one stormy night, someone collapses at your feet, and suddenly your whole destiny reroutes itself. My name is Lena Hart, and back then I was just a homeless kid trying to make it to sunrise. I kept to myself, slept light, trusted no one. That night, the rain was hitting the metal roof so hard it felt like the sky was falling, and I was curled in the corner hugging my backpack when I noticed a shape on the ground. A man. Face down. Barely moving. For a second, I thought it was a trick, you know what I mean? People on the streets do crazy things to lure you in. But then he groaned this low, broken sound, and something in me just moved. I knelt beside him and whispered, "Sir, you with me?" His fingers twitched around my wrist. His voice cracked like it was splitting open. "My daughter. Find her." Then he passed out cold. And I don't know what hit me harder, the fear or the anger. Fear, because I didn't know if he was dying. Anger, because no one, not one person, stopped to help. A whole city of people, and he was just another body on the ground. I dragged him under the shelter, soaked and shaking, and for the first time in a long time I felt responsible for someone other than myself. I stayed up all night watching his breathing, counting the seconds between each rise and fall, praying I hadn't taken on a dead man. When the sun finally pushed through the clouds, I realized I needed help. Real help. So I ran to the only person who had ever shown me kindness. Miss Rose, a tough-as-nails widow who rented out tiny rooms behind the old bakery. She used to feed me leftovers when she could always pretending she had made too much, even though we both knew she hadn't. "Miss Rose," I gasped, pounding on her door. "I need you, please." She opened it with curlers still in her hair, took one look at my soaked clothes, and said, "What did you drag into my morning now?" I pulled her to the bus stop, and the moment she saw him, her face shifted. "Lena, honey, this man isn't from the streets. His watch, his shoes, even the way his hands looked, it all screamed money. Old money. The kind that didn't walk into neighborhoods like ours. We got him to her spare room, cleaned him up, wrapped him in blankets, and waited. Hours later, he opened his eyes and looked right at me, and I swear it felt like he was searching my face for answers I didn't have. "My name is Daniel," he whispered. "Daniel Cross. Never heard of him. Should have meant nothing to me. But something in the way he said his name, soft and tired, made my chest tighten. Over the next day, he told me pieces of his story, broken pieces he could barely say without swallowing hard. His daughter, Aria, had been taken when she was 7. No ransom, no clues, just gone. And he had spent 10 years chasing rumors, burning through money, hope, everything he had left. And for reasons I didn't understand yet, he kept staring at the necklace around my neck. A little silver sun pendant, scratched and worn, the only thing I'd had with me the day I was found wandering the streets as a kid. I didn't know where it came from. Didn't know who gave it to me. It was just mine. 2 days after I found Daniel, he finally asked, "Where did you get that necklace, Lena?" I shrugged. "Had it since I was little. Why?" His face drained of color. "Because I designed one exactly like it. For Aria. There is only one." I laughed, and it came out harsher than I meant. "Come on, you think I'm your daughter? I don't even remember my childhood." "Trauma does that," he said softly. "But your age, the pendant, the scar on your wrist, even the way you tilt your head when you're confused, it's all the same." My throat closed because suddenly I didn't know whether to run or hold on tighter. And while my mind spun, danger slipped right into our lives. Because Aria hadn't just vanished. She had been taken by Mara Quinn, Daniel's former nanny, a woman who believed he owed her the world. She had disappeared the same year Arya did, and now she was here in our city watching us. I remember the first time I felt her shadow. A soft scrape outside our door, a whisper of movement in the alley, a piece of paper slipped under the threshold with 2 words written in angry black ink. "Stay away." Miss Rose tried to calm us, but Daniel knew. "She found us," he muttered, pressing a hand to his ribs. "She won't stop now." We needed answers, real ones. So we went to a clinic for a DNA test. I tried to act chill, but inside I was shaking so hard I almost dropped the swab. Daniel held my hand afterward, his grip trembling. "Whatever the truth is," he said, "you matter, with or without blood." And for a girl who grew up hearing she was nothing, those words dug deep. But we never made it to the results peacefully. By the next night, Mara's men were hunting us down. Miss Rose's house wasn't safe. The streets weren't safe. The whole neighborhood felt like it was closing in. We ran to a shelter owned by a friend of hers, a quiet man named Elliot. But even there, danger found us. They kicked the door in just as Daniel pushed me through the back window. I still hear the crack of his body hitting the floor behind me. I still hear him yelling, "Lena, go." But I couldn't. Elliot dragged me down an alley while Daniel's screams echoed inside the shelter. The guilt felt like fire in my lungs. Every step away from him hurt. We hid in an abandoned warehouse overnight. I didn't sleep. I sat with my necklace clutched so tight it cut my palm. By morning, I wasn't scared anymore. I was angry. Angry enough to fight. Elliot spread out a map, circled a few buildings, and said, "If she wants to hide someone, she chooses places where people don't ask questions." And he was right. A kid from the neighborhood, a scrappy boy named Milo, whom I'd helped before, burst in saying he had seen them drag Daniel into an old tobacco plant near the river. I don't think I've ever run as fast as I did that morning. My heart was ready to tear out of my chest, but I kept going. I had to. The warehouse was huge. Echoing, smelled like dust and rust. And in the center of the room, tied to a chair, blood on his lip, was Daniel, my maybe father, my almost lost family. And Mara stood behind him, smiling like a devil who thought she'd already won. "Well, well," she said, stepping into the light. "The little stray finally came back. You touch him again, and I'll make you regret it," I snapped. Surprised myself with that one. Even Daniel's eyes widened, proud and terrified at the same time. Mara tilted her head. "You think you matter, girl. You think some cheap pendant makes you his daughter. It's not the pendant that does," I said. "It's the fact that he never stopped looking." Her grin vanished. She lunged. I dodged. Elliot hit one of her men with a crowbar. Chaos exploded. It felt like everything happened in a single heartbeat. A pipe swung past my face. A fist collided with Elliot's jaw. Daniel shoved the chair so hard it toppled, and Mara rushed at me with a knife. But I grabbed a broken board off the floor and swung. Years of surviving on the streets poured through my arms. The board cracked against her shoulder, then again against her ribs. "You stole my childhood," I cried. "You don't get to steal my future." She lunged again, wild, and that's when the warehouse doors burst open. Police stormed in, shouting commands. Someone had called them maybe Elliot, maybe the clinic, maybe fate. Mara was dragged away screaming my name like a curse, and I stumbled to Daniel, hands shaking so hard I could barely untie the ropes. He fell into my arms, weak but smiling. "You came back," he whispered. "I wasn't going to lose you," I said, pressing my face into his shoulder. "Not again." And then finally the officer holding the envelope stepped forward. "The test results," he said quietly. "They're confirmed." Daniel squeezed my hand. I squeezed back. I was Arya, the girl he had been searching for his entire life. The girl Mara tried to erase. The girl I never knew I was. And suddenly the world felt too big, too bright, too full of possibilities I never allowed myself to imagine. But here's the part no one agrees on, the part people argue about whenever I tell this story. Should I forgive Mara? Someone who stole a child, destroyed a family, and left me to grow up alone. Daniel says forgiveness is a path to peace. Miss Rose says forgiveness is overrated. And me, honestly, I don't know yet. Maybe I never will. But I know this: I fought for my life, for my father, for the truth. And I won. So let me ask you, if this happened to you, what would you do? Would you forgive someone who stole your entire childhood? Or is some damage just too deep to heal? Tell me in the comments. Let's talk about it.